Niccolo Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived." Read that again. Those who allow themselves to be deceived. The greatest trick a manipulator ever plays isn't lying to you. It is making you believe that their lie is your truth. Most people walk through life as puppets. They feel heavy. They feel confused. They wake up drained and go to sleep anxious. They sense that something is wrong, but they never look up to see who is pulling the strings. But you are here because you suspect the truth. You are here because you feel a siege on your mind. You may call it love. You may call it duty. You may call it loyalty. But deep down, in the quiet moments when you're alone, you know it is a cage. Manipulation is not a singular event. It is not just one lie or one insult. It is a slow, methodical erosion of your reality. Like water dripping on a stone, eventually, the stone cracks. The manipulator does not want to destroy you. That would be a waste of resources. They want to hollow you out so they can wear you like a skin. They want to replace your will with their own. Why do we stay? Why do we allow ourselves to be deceived? Because the truth is painful. To admit you are being manipulated is to admit you have been weak, to admit you have been blind. And the human ego would rather be a slave in a comfortable lie than a king in a painful truth. But comfort is the enemy of power. If you want to reclaim your soul, you must be willing to burn the fantasy to the ground. You must be willing to see the people around you not as you wish they were, but as they actually are. We are about to walk into the dark. I'm going to show you the 7 signs of the siege. Some of these will hurt. Some of these will describe your life so perfectly, it will feel like I am watching you. But before we begin, you must make a choice. You cannot learn these things and remain a victim. You must signal to your subconscious that the game is over. Pause this video. Go to the comments and type these 4 words. I cut the strings. Do it. Do not just think it. Type it. Make it physical. Prove to yourself that you are ready to see the truth. Good. Now that the pact is made, let us begin the autopsy of your manipulation. We will start with the most dangerous weapon in their arsenal, the one that makes you question your own sanity, the reality distortion. In clinical psychology, this is known as gaslighting, but I prefer to call it the erasure of the self. To understand this, you must first understand how the human mind anchors itself to the world. You rely on your senses. You trust your eyes to see the ground beneath your feet. You trust your ears to hear the wind. You trust your memory to tell you who you are. But imagine a thief who breaks into your home. He doesn't steal your money. He doesn't steal your jewelry. Instead, he steals your eyes. He steals your ears. And eventually, he steals your memory. The reality distortion does not happen overnight. If someone walked up to you and said the sky was green, you would laugh. You would call them crazy. So the manipulator does not start with the sky. They start with the small things, the trivial things. It begins with a set of keys. You know you left them on the table. You distinctly remember the sound of the metal hitting the wood. But the next morning, they are gone. You search the house. You are frantic. And then, the manipulator walks in, holding them, and says, "They were in the door. You left them in the door again. You're always so careless." You pause. You feel a glitch in your mind, a friction. You know they were on the table, but maybe you were tired? Maybe you were distracted? I guess I was, you say. I'm sorry. That apology was the first crack in the foundation of your sanity. Over time, the incidents escalate. It moves from keys to conversations. I never said that. You are imagining things. You are being paranoid. I was only trying to help you. Why are you so sensitive? This is not a difference of opinion. This is a calculated assault on your sensory perception. The manipulator knows that if they can make you doubt your own senses, you will have no choice but to rely on theirs. They become your anchor of reality. When you are unsure if you should be angry, you look to them to see if it is allowed. When you are unsure if you are safe, you look to them for reassurance. You cease to be an independent observer of the universe. You become a passenger in their reality. Machiavelli taught us about the power of appearance. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The manipulator masters the art of the calm surface. Notice how, during an argument, they remain terrifyingly calm. They speak in a low, rational voice. They sit back. They look at you with pity. Meanwhile, you are crying. You are yelling. You are desperate to be understood. To an outsider, you look like the crazy one. You look unstable. And the manipulator points this out. Look at yourself, they say. Look how emotional you are. You need help. They provoke the storm and then blame you for the rain. How do you fight a war against your own perception? You do not fight it with emotion. You fight it with ink. The only defense against the reality distortion is the ledger. You must stop relying on your memory, which is fluid and easily twisted. Start relying on the tangible. Write things down. Screen capture the texts. Record the conversations if you must. Keep a journal of reality that is for your eyes only. When they try to rewrite history, when they look you in the eye and say, "I never promised that," you do not argue. You do not try to convince them. You simply look at your ledger, and you know. You do not need to win the argument. You only need to survive it with your mind intact. If gaslighting attacks your mind, weaponized guilt attacks your heart. This is the trap of the saint and the sinner. In a healthy relationship, giving is a joy. It flows back and forth like a river. It is light. It is free. But to a manipulator, giving is not a gift. Giving is a loan, and they charge interest. High interest. We call this a covert contract. A covert contract is an agreement that you never signed, but you are still expected to honor. They will do things for you that you never asked for. They will clean your house when you didn't ask. They will buy you expensive gifts you didn't want. They will make grand sacrifices. I gave up my friends for you. I stayed in this town for you. I worked 2 jobs for you. And they will store these moments in a vault, waiting for the day you try to set a boundary. The moment you say no, the moment you try to protect your time, the moment you want to see your own friends, they unlock the vault. After everything I've done for you, how can you be so selfish? I sacrificed everything, and you can't even do this one thing for me? Suddenly, your boundary is not a boundary. It is an act of betrayal. Your independence is not strength. It is ingratitude. They twist the narrative so that you are always the debtor and they are always the creditor. They want you to feel a heavy, suffocating weight in your chest, the weight of obligation. This is the psychological equivalent of a loan shark. They create a debt you can never repay so that you remain in service to them forever. You walk around on eggshells trying to pay off this invisible debt. You apologize when you haven't done anything wrong. You agree to things you hate just to avoid the lecture. You become a slave to their kindness. But let us look at this through the lens of power. Machiavelli warned that benefits should be granted little by little so that they may be better enjoyed. The manipulator floods you with benefits, not to make you happy, but to drown you. True generosity requires no recognition. It requires no repayment. If someone helps you and then uses that help as a weapon to silence you later, they did not help you. They purchased you. Do not be purchased. The next time they try to weaponize guilt, you must learn to see the transaction for what it is. Detach from the emotion. Stop looking at their tears. Stop listening to the sad violin music they are playing. Look at the trade. You did X for me. I appreciate that. But that does not mean I must do Y for you. You must become comfortable with being called the bad guy. Because in their story, the only way to be the good guy is to do exactly what you are told. If protecting your soul makes you a villain in their eyes, then embrace the villainy. It is better to be a free villain than a righteous slave. You are not the sinner, and they are certainly not the saint. In Greek mythology, there is a man named Sisyphus. He was condemned by the gods to push a massive boulder up a hill. Every time he neared the top, every time he thought he had finally succeeded, the boulder would slip and roll back to the bottom. He was forced to start over, again and again, for eternity. This is not just a myth. This is your life under the control of a manipulator. We call this the moving goalpost. It happens when you are constantly striving to meet their expectations, but the rules of the game keep changing. You finally apologize perfectly for the argument. You think, okay, we are good now. But then they say, well, you apologized, but you didn't say it with the right tone. So you fix your tone. You try again. Then they say, your tone was fine, but you're only doing it because I asked you to. It doesn't count. Do you see the trap? Success is always just one step away, just one more effort, just one more sacrifice. They dangle the carrot of their approval in front of your face, but no matter how fast you run, you never catch it. Psychologically, this creates a state known as intermittent reinforcement. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. If a slot machine paid out every time, you would get bored. If it never paid out, you would leave. But if it pays out sometimes, unpredictably, you become obsessed. The manipulator gives you crumbs of affection, just enough to keep you hoping, just enough to keep you pushing that boulder. They don't want you to succeed, because if you succeeded, if you actually made them happy, you would stop trying so hard. They need you anxious. They need you striving. They need you tired. Machiavelli understood this well. He knew that people are more loyal to those who keep them hoping than to those who satisfy them completely. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. The manipulator promises that if you just change this one thing about yourself, everything will be perfect. It is a lie. Perfection is not the goal. Control is the goal. And a person who feels they are not good enough is easy to control. So, how do you stop pushing the boulder? You let it fall. You must stop seeking their validation. You must realize that the game is rigged. You cannot win a game where your opponent invents the rules as they go along. When they shift the goalpost, call it out. I have apologized. I have fixed the action. I am not going to jump through another hoop. Step off the treadmill. Let them be unhappy. Let them be disappointed. Their disappointment is not your failure. It is their strategy. Noise is distracting, but silence is terrifying. Most people think of abuse as shouting. They think of broken plates and screaming matches. But the most sophisticated manipulators do not need to raise their voice to break you. They simply disappear. This is the silent treatment. But do not mistake this for the silence of a monk or a Stoic. This is not a silence of peace. This is a punitive silence. You have a disagreement. Maybe you stood up for yourself. Maybe you asked a question they didn't want to answer. Suddenly, the air leaves the room. They stop looking at you. They walk past you as if you are a ghost. You ask them what's wrong, and they stare right through you. They create a void, and human beings are terrified of voids. We are social creatures. When we are ignored by our tribe, our primitive brain screams that we are in danger. We feel abandoned. We feel invisible. So, what do? You rush to fill the void. You start talking. You start explaining. You start apologizing for things you didn't even do. Are you mad? Did I say something wrong? Please, just talk to me. You chase them. You beg for their attention. And the more you beg, the powerful they feel. They are watching you unravel. They are watching you dance. They are teaching you a lesson without saying a word. If you cross me, I will erase you. This is a test of your will. If you are still listening, if you recognize this cold, dark silence from your own life, then you are the resistance. Prove it. Go to the comments right now. Do not let this moment pass. Type, "Silence is my weapon." Tell them you know. Tell yourself you are no longer afraid of the quiet. The only way to win against the silent treatment is to mirror the void. When they go silent, you do not chase. You do not ask, "What's wrong?" You do not panic. You go about your day. You cook your dinner. You read your book. You laugh at the TV. You enjoy the silence. Show them that their absence does not destroy you. Show them that you are comfortable in your own company. This terrifies the manipulator, because their power relies on your desperation. If you are not desperate, they are powerless. Treat their silence not as a punishment, but as a vacation. Enjoy the peace while it lasts. But be warned, when silence fails, they will try to isolate you from the only people who can help you see the truth. In medieval warfare, when an army wanted to take a castle that was too strong to attack directly, they laid siege to it. They did not climb the walls. They simply cut off the supply lines. They blocked the roads. They stopped the food and water from getting in. And then they waited. They waited for the people inside to starve, to weaken, to open the gates themselves just to survive. The isolator is the siege engine of dark psychology. A manipulator knows a fundamental truth about human nature. We are herd animals. We derive our strength, our identity, and our reality checks from our tribe. Your friends, your family, your co-workers, they are your mirrors. They remind you of who you were before the manipulation began. They are the ones who say, "Hey, that doesn't sound right," or "Why does he treat you like that?" The manipulator views these people as threats. They are the supply lines to your sanity, so they must be cut. But listen closely. They will never say, "I forbid you from seeing your mother." That is too obvious. That sounds like abuse. Instead, they will use the language of protection. I just don't think your friends really care about you the way I do. Did you hear the tone your sister used with you? It was so disrespectful. I wouldn't let anyone speak to me like that. I just want us to spend more time together, just the two of us. Why do you need them when we have this? Do you hear the poison wrapped in sugar? They are planting seeds of doubt. They are rewriting your history with your loved ones. Bit by bit, you start to pull away. You stop answering the calls. You stop going to the dinners. Not because you want to, but because it is just easier than dealing with the manipulator's pouting, or their questions, or their subtle judgment. And then, one day, you wake up. The castle is silent. The bridge is drawn. You are alone in the room with them. You have no one left to ask, is this normal? And that is exactly where they want you. When you are isolated, you are defenseless. You are entirely dependent on them for your emotional food, your validation, your reality. This is the oldest rule of conquest. Divide et impera. Divide and conquer. A united enemy is strong. An isolated enemy is weak. Cult leaders, dictators, and toxic partners all use this exact same blueprint. How do you break the siege? You must reopen the supply lines, even if it is difficult, even if it causes conflict. You need a personal board of directors. Identify 3 people in your life who have known you for a long time. People who are rational. People who are not afraid to tell you the truth. Make a pact with yourself. You will never hide the reality of your relationship from them. Tell them the ugly parts. Tell them what happened on Tuesday night. Shine a light on the secret. When the manipulator tries to cut them off, you must hold the line. I'm going to see my friend. This is not up for negotiation. Do not let the castle gates close, because once they do, it is very hard to open them again from the inside. Humor is a beautiful thing. It connects us. It heals us. But in the hands of a dark psychologist, humor is a dagger hidden in a bouquet of flowers. We call this Schrödinger's insult. In quantum physics, Schrödinger's cat is both dead and alive until you open the box. In manipulation, the comment is both a joke and an insult until you react to it. They say something cruel. They target your deepest insecurity, your weight, your intelligence, your career, your past trauma. They say it with a smile. They say it in front of other people to humiliate you. And then they wait for your reaction. If you get angry, if you defend yourself, they flip the switch. Whoa, calm down. It was just a joke. You have no sense of humor. You are so sensitive. Suddenly you are the problem. You are the buzzkill. You are the one making a scene. But if you stay silent, if you swallow the poison and say nothing, then it wasn't a joke. It was the truth. And they have just successfully pushed your boundary back another inch. They have learned that they can disrespect you in public, and you will not bite back. This is not accidental. This is boundary testing. Like a raptor testing the electric fence, they are looking for weaknesses. They want to see how much abuse you will tolerate if it is packaged as fun. They use phrases like, "I'm just teasing. Don't take everything so seriously. I'm only saying this because I love you." Cruelty disguised as comedy is still cruelty. So, how do you disarm the jester? You strip the joke naked. When they make a cruel comment and laugh, do not laugh with them. Do not get angry. Do not yell. Simply stop. Look them dead in the eye and ask a question. Can you explain the joke to me? I don't get it. Explain why that is funny. Watch what happens. A joke is only funny if it relies on a shared understanding. When you force them to explain it, you force them to admit the insult. Well, I just meant that, you're a bit... They will stutter. They will stumble. The air will leave the room. You have removed the disguise. And then you deliver the final blow. It sounds like you are trying to be hurtful, but you are too cowardly to say it directly. Machiavelli taught that one must be a fox to recognize traps. The just joking trap is a snare for the emotional. Do not step in it. Step over it and look down on the one who set it. But what happens when you finally confront them? What happens when you catch them red-handed? They play their final card, the one that reverses gravity itself. This is the ultimate magic trick of the manipulator. The ability to stand over a bleeding body, holding the knife, and convince the world that they are the one who is hurt. We call this the reversal. In psychology, there is an acronym for this. DARVO. Deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. Picture this. You finally gather the courage to confront them. You have your evidence. You have your ledger. You sit them down and say, "You hurt me when you lied about money." A normal person would say, "I am sorry." But a manipulator? They do not apologize. They disintegrate. Suddenly, they are crying. "I can't believe you would think I am such a bad person. I try so hard. You don't know the stress I am under. My childhood was terrible. I am just a screw-up." Watch closely what just happened. The conversation was about their action. Now, the conversation is about their feelings. They have hijacked your pain and replaced it with their suffering. And you, because you are empathetic, because you are kind, you fall for it. You stop being the accuser and become the comforter. No, I didn't mean it like that. You aren't a bad person. It's okay. Don't cry." Stop. Do you realize what you just did? You just apologized to the person who stabbed you for getting blood on their shirt. They have successfully reversed the roles. They are now the victim. You are now the offender, the mean one who made them cry. This is not vulnerability. This is tactical vulnerability. They weaponize their own incompetence or trauma to avoid accountability. How do you defeat the victim card? You must remain cold to the performance. Imagine you are watching a bad actor in a play. You do not run onto the stage to comfort them. You sit in the audience and watch. When they start crying and blaming their past, you simply say, "I understand you are upset, but that does not change the fact that you lied. We are not talking about your childhood right now. We are talking about your action." Refuse to be derailed. Hold the frame. Do not comfort the person who is hurting you. We have walked through the valley of shadows. We have seen the 7 signs of the siege, the reality distortion, weaponized guilt, the goalpost shift, strategic silence, the isolator, the joker, and the victim. If you have recognized these signs in your life, you may feel heavy right now. You may feel foolish for not seeing them sooner. But shame is useless. Shame is just another string they can pull. Instead of shame, I want you to feel anger. Not the hot, explosive anger of a child, but the cold, focused anger of a strategist. Niccolo Machiavelli gave us the ultimate blueprint for survival in a world of wolves. He wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." Up until now, you have been the sheep, trusting, naive, hoping the wolf would be nice to you. That ends today. You must become the fox. The fox is observant. The fox questions everything. The fox sees the trap before stepping in it. From this day forward, when someone tries to guilt you, when they try to gaslight you, your inner fox will wake up and say, "I see what you are doing." You will not react. You will observe. And when necessary, you must become the lion. The lion does not argue with the hyena. The lion does not explain himself. The lion simply sets the boundary and enforces it with terrifying absolute power. No, I will not tolerate this. I am leaving. You do not need to be cruel. You simply need to be unmovable. Manipulation only works in the dark. It relies on your silence. It relies on your politeness. It relies on your fear of being difficult. But you are no longer in the dark. You have the map. You have the light. Cut the strings. Open the gates. Reclaim your reality. You are not responsible for how they act. You are only responsible for how you react. And from this moment on, you react with strategy, not emotion. If you have made it to the end of this video, you are part of the 1% who truly want to rule their own mind. Do not let this lesson fade. Join the Order of the Architects. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell. We are building an army of the mentally untouchable, and I want you in the ranks. Prove you made it to the end. Prove you are a lion. Go to the comments one last time and type, "I see everything." I am the Dark Psychology Architect, and I will see you in the next video.